Always not that. Got the reload. What is up? Gear Squad, Chain Gear here, bringing you another video. And it's been a while, I know, and I say that almost every single time I jump on YouTube because it always takes a little bit for me to jump back on. But thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to stop by and just see what I'm yapping about today. And I've got an interesting topic that I think a lot of folks might be able to relate to as well. And I was just going to kind of take this negative information and then run away with it. Kind of take this information and then just kind of implement it myself. But there was an amazing video that I watched recently. It was all about how to play more games. I know I'm probably not the only one who has a huge backlog of games. And honestly, I feel like it's probably gotten a lot worse over the last couple of years. If you don't know what a backlog is, it's basically, let's say you pick up a game and you're like, oh, I'm going to come back to this game later. Or you buy a game, but you just haven't had the time to play it. And instead you go back to maybe a game that you're a little bit more familiar with. So, you go and you play that game instead. Well, when you start to accumulate more and more of those games that haven't been finished, games that haven't been played, you start to create a backlog. It's a log list of games that just keep piling up more and more and more. And at some point, you find yourself playing the same comfort game that you used to. In my case, probably Destiny 2. For some folks, it might be Call of Duty, Warframe, etc. You play those games, and all those games that you haven't touched, they're just sitting there. So for me, I wanted to find a way to start to get through my backlog a little bit more and generally just play more games. If you haven't seen, almost every single year for the last 3-4 years, I have been streaming on Twitch at the end of each year, sometimes at the beginning of each year, to talk about my favorite games that I've played that year. But I've also gone through a spreadsheet of all of the games that I have played in general, all the games that I wanted to play, the games that I decided not to play. And I've gotten better and better, I think, at curating that experience for myself over time. And so basically what I wanted to talk about today was something that I'm trying a little bit new that goes hand in hand with that spreadsheet that I'm going to show you guys in just a second. And it should showcase kind of how I am starting to play a couple more games. And as a reminder, I didn't come up with this method. There's an amazing video. I'll put a link in the description down below on how to play more games. There's 3 different ideas that are in that video, and I'm just taking the first one and kind of rolling with it. And we're going to see kind of how it goes. I'm going to try this out for probably a week or so, and then I'll probably implement it once again if I actually get through that game. And we'll just keep the ball rolling. And like I said, we'll see how it goes. So enough yapping. Let's go ahead and show you the spreadsheets. Let's take a look. So this right here is the actual spreadsheet that I use to track all of my games. I also track a couple other things like media, like for example, movies or TV shows that I watched, books that I read. But in general, I try not to go too intense about all that. Instead, I really just focus mostly on this list. You'll see the list is huge. I created this list last year to put a bunch of games that I was interested in possibly playing. I gave them the release dates. Some of them I already owned. You'll see they're literally in my backlog. Some of them I put in hype amounts. So like 1 star means like, I'm not really that interested in playing it, but it's on the list. Estimated length, I put that down for games that I put in prior because sometimes I might not be super hyped, but if it's 9 minutes, or 9 hours, I should say, not 9 minutes, 9 hours, well, maybe it's worth giving it a couple days and see if I like it or not. So I did this for a bunch of games. I also put some notes in here. You'll see I have some here that say like play with friends because I don't actually want to play them by myself. I want to play with some of my friends. And then you'll start to see the lines that are highlighted. And so the lines that are highlighted, you can actually see one of these right here is a little off. Got to make sure I fix that. All of these things that are highlighted means that I have touched these games in some way, shape, or form, or I'm not going to play these games. So you'll see, starting from the top, I have my never playing games. These are games that I'm not playing. I'm not going to play them. I'm not playing them now, and I'm not going to play them ever. And you'll see there are a couple games in here: Suicide Squad, Foam Stars, Outpost. You might be surprised to see Devil May Cry 5. These are games that I tried to play, or I took a look at them and said, yeah, actually the reviews are really bad, so I'm not going to touch them. So Devil May Cry I started last year, and I picked it it up. I wanted to pick it up again this year, and I decided, you know, I think this might be a game that's better left in the past. I'll watch some videos about it. I already know a lot about the game. It's already been spoiled a ton for me, and when I started playing it, it didn't really fit in the action playstyle that I'm used to nowadays. A little bit faster, a little bit more reaction oriented, and so for me, the kind of new wave of action games is where I want to spend my time. And so Devil May Cry 5 isn't a bad game. It's just not one that I plan on playing basically in my lifetime. And there's a couple other games here, like I said, that I don't think a lot of folks are probably going to play because unfortunately the reviews weren't high enough, or it's just not really worth my time putting time into a multiplayer game that I don't think is going to last very long. So then you'll see not in 2024. Now, these are games that honestly I'm either excited for, or, you know, like maybe the ratings weren't horrible, but they're not games that I want to put a bunch of time into now. And so you'll see Disco Elysium, a game that has incredible reviews, but I'm not sure it's really for me. I don't want to spend time in 2024 playing it. So I just put not in 2024. Then 3 games that actually released this year: Persona 3 Reload, Banishers, and Rise of the Ronin. These games are honestly right up my alley, but I don't think I want to play them this year. For example, Persona 3 Reload, I want to play them with my friends so they can sit down and make decisions with me. And I am deciding that I don't want to play Persona 3 Reload before I play Persona 5. I haven't beaten it yet, and so I'm going to try and beat that with some friends soon, and then I'll go ahead and play this game. And you can see a similar thing here, Rise of the Ronin. I actually say beat Stranger of Paradise first before I play another kind of open-ish world hack and slash game like Rise of the like Stranger of Paradise or Rise of the Ronin. So games that I want to play in 2024, but I just don't think it's a good idea for me to spend that time. Then you'll see games that I have played, and you'll see here I've also put demos down, because sometimes there are games that aren't coming out this year, but the demo is, and so I play the demo, and I want to remind myself that I played the demo. There's also games that I played maybe on PlayStation, you know, like PS Plus or Game Pass, things like that. And by the way, played doesn't mean completed, right? Completed is a different category. It just means I've played it, I enjoyed my time, and I'm probably not going back to it. If I do, I can go ahead and adjust some things here. And here's some of the other kind of rows here. You'll see date started as well as date finished. So I started playing Skull at 4:05, and you can see here I stopped at 4:12. So on the 12th, I was like, okay, that was fun. That was the last time I played it, and I just haven't picked it up then. Now, this is going to be similar to played and stopped, but played and stopped is a little bit different. The connotation is different because the situation here is I played it, and it's not the game for me. I don't think I will play it ever again. A good example is Friends vs. Friends. I like Friends vs. Friends. It's a 2v2 or sometimes a 3v3, sometimes even a 1v1, very cute card-based shooter. The problem is that the player base is small, and the people who are playing right now are very, very good. And so when I try and get one of my friends into it, we jump in, we kind of just get smacked around, and it's really not a lot of fun. And so for me, it's like, I really like this game. It didn't cost very much. I'm not upset that I bought it. I did play it. I have some cool takeaways from it, but it's just not for me, and I don't think I'm going to pick it up again. Great example is Tiny Tina Wonderlands or Terraria or Warframe. I put years into Warframe. I picked it back up, played it a bit, and I was like, you know, I just don't really like the way that Warframe is structured. There's nothing wrong with Warframe. It's just not for me. And that's what I said about for Terraria, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and shout out to a couple folks in my clan, especially Zen. He's a huge fan of Terraria. This doesn't mean that I would never play Terraria, but it's just not the type of game that I would personally spend time building out and playing, because I played Terraria, again, for years when I was in high school, and it's just not the kind of game that I want to dive back into when there's so many other games that I want to play. So again, this doesn't mean that I would never play these again. It just means that I'm stopping for now. Maybe I don't play them in 2024. Maybe I don't play them this month or next month. But I did want to put that I played and then I stopped. So we also have some games that I played and stopped here. I don't actually know why this is a different color. Let me make sure I put these in the right color here. You can see I have a lot of color coding. Color coding for me is kind of important. It's because it makes it really easy to jump back and see, okay, what's going on. And you can see here, this is my biggest grouping. It's a bunch of green, light green, and it's playing. I'm currently playing these games. Now, it's a lot. And you might say there's no way, Chain Gear, that you're playing this many games. And you can even see here, let's go ahead and filter this, clear, and just do playing. you can see that the amount of games here is 14. And a lot of these I started playing in January. So are you really playing them still? The answer is no. No, I'm not still playing them most of the time. But sometimes I jump in and play just a little bit. Just a little bit at a time. And I think that's one of the reasons I kind of like this spreadsheet. Momodora is a adorable side-scrolling action game, kind of Metroidvania, and I really, really like it. It's only like an hour and a half, and I just haven't beaten it yet because I played it a tiny bit and just haven't jumped back into it. But I really like it. There's a brand new Momodora that's come out, and so I want to beat this game. I started it in January, and I do want to jump back into it. It's not like I played and stopped. It's more that I played and I played something else afterwards and haven't gotten back to it. So for me, this is a game that I'm playing, and the good thing is on Steam, it shows the last time I played. So if the last time I played is going to be February 2nd, then I'll go ahead in here and I'll type in February 2nd, and we have the data that we need. And then I'll change it probably to played and stopped, or just played, right? But I have some other games in here too, games that like are built to just consistently play through time, like Vampire Survivor or BlazBlue Entropy Effect. So there are other games that are pretty cool that I want to pick up. But there are some games that I have on here that are kind of like, okay, hold up. This is kind of a big deal. A great example is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You can see here that I have a ton of stars on this because my hype meter was through the roof for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And you can see that I played it at the end of February. Now, the reason I stopped playing it is mostly because of a bunch of other games. I was playing this probably for a month or so, and then Destiny was on the horizon. I was playing Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and I didn't finish that game because Final Fantasy came out. And so there's all of these different games that kind of come out, come back in, and it can be difficult for me to remember what games I was playing or to kind of get back into those games. And this is where the how to play more games conversation comes in, because I've been sitting here thinking like, well, what is the next game that I want to play? And if you play gacha at all, you can see here I've got Punishing Gray Raven in here. I've got Wuthering Waves in here. These are both gacha games that I really, really enjoy. And it's not about the gacha aspect, but it's actually about the ongoing live service nature of the game. And of course, there's Destiny 2. I play these games consistently. And so I can get on and I can play those 3 games, get things done in those games, and really not have had a new experience that day. And so the idea here is what do I really want to play and what do I want to accomplish today? And then what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? And so here is the strategy that I've learned from the video that I mentioned. Again, that will be in the description down below. And the idea is to start journaling. And so you can do this in a number of ways. You can do this like I am. You can actually grab a notebook, piece of paper, and you can write down gaming journal and write down 2 questions. What did you accomplish today? And what do you want to accomplish tomorrow or the next time, right? So it's about what did you do today, the past, and what did you do? What do you want to do the next time, the future, right? And this is great because the idea here is every time you have a gaming session, you just go ahead and write a new entry and you just say, hey, what did I do today? I'll give you a great example. Today, I woke up and I immediately jumped onto Wuthering Waves and Punishing Gray Raven. I did all my dailies. I did some of my weeklies. I enjoyed my time there. And then I kind of noticed that I was probably spending a little bit too much time on those games, so I jumped off. After I jumped off those games, sure, I did some normal stuff throughout the day, but this is a gaming journal, so the next thing that I did, gaming-oriented, is I played Destiny 2. I played with my clanmates. I actually did our first speed run, sub-hour on Salvation's Edge. Shout out to Obsidian Gears. So we crushed that. We beat the Witness in like 11 minutes, which was cool for Master. I believe that was our first clear. We did it with the challenge as well, so that was super cool. And then I also did a couple GMs. And when you realize how cool your day was when it came to Destiny, or whatever you did, whatever game you played, whether it was Warframe, whether you picked up a brand new game. A friend of mine just told me, shout out to Maverick, to play Once Human. I think I'm going to try and pick up that game at some point. You kind of start to realize, okay, today was pretty good. What do I want to do tomorrow? And so that's when you start to write down, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do tomorrow? And the nice thing is, The nice thing is, if you combo this gaming journal, which you can type, by the way, you can write, by the way, you can use voice memos, you can create a video, right? The nice thing that you can do is you can actually say, okay, well, what are some of the other games that I want to play? What are some of the games that I am playing? How hype was I for those games? So for example, what were my 5-star games? What was I super hype about? You can see here, 3 games for 2024. There are 3 games that I'm super excited about. And you can see here, I have 2 of them already. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Final Fantasy XVI The Rising Tide. And when I was doing this gaming journal just a couple minutes ago, right before I started making this video, the first thing that came to mind was Final Fantasy XVI The Rising Tide. And you might, Chain, why are you playing this game? Why aren't you finishing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Why aren't you finishing Grand Blue Fantasy Relink? Why don't you play more Destiny? Why don't you jump into some more gacha? It's because it's what my heart is telling me to do. It's because it's what I want to do. It's because it's the thing that is drawing me towards it right now. And don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy XVI, The Rising Tide, if I had not played Final Fantasy XVI at all, I probably wouldn't be touching this game right now. But Final Fantasy XVI, The Rising Tide is a DLC to one of my favorite games last year. And so I'm going to pick this game up. I already have it. I have the DLC. So I'm going to make sure the game is up to date, and I'm going to play it. Honestly, tonight, it's 10:47. I usually go to bed around midnight, and so I'm going to play this game for about an hour, and I'm going to see if I like it or not, and see if it starts to draw me in. If it doesn't, I'll go ahead and I'll write a little note in my journal and say, you know, wasn't the day. But if it is, then when I write my journal, I'll say, and tomorrow, I want to play a little bit more. But you want to be specific, right? You want to say, okay, I want to do this mission tomorrow, or I want to level up this thing tomorrow. And I think it helps a lot too in other games, right? I think it helps in gacha games. Like if you're playing Punishing Gray Raven, or if you're playing ZZZ, and a lot of folks are playing Zenless Zone Zero, or any games like that. Instead of just jumping in every day and completing your stuff and calling it a day, or maybe really getting sucked in, make sure you actually think about what you did that day and what you might want to try tomorrow. I know for me, that's been really helpful for games like Wuthering Waves, where yes, there is a daily grind, a weekly grind, even a seasonal grind. But for me, I can also just get really in the weeds about farming echoes. If you know, you know. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, what exactly do I want to do tomorrow? So that way I can kind of put some time aside for that. And I can put some time aside for Destiny. And I can put some time aside for, well, Final Fantasy 16, The Rising Tide. All right. Well, honestly, y'all, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a while since I've just recorded a video and put it out there. I know this one is longer. They usually are. But I'm hoping to start putting out more content more regularly. I'm starting to feel a lot better. If folks know, I've had an interesting last 2 years. And so my life has changed pretty drastically, and I want to kind of get back into things. And so thank you so much for giving me the grace that I really, really could use day to day, and giving me some time to get back into YouTube and Twitch, of course. I'm on Twitch definitely a lot more than I post videos, and I'm hoping I can actually start clipping a little bit more of Twitch and start throwing it up on YouTube as well for folks that aren't really into the whole streaming thing, which I totally understand. I stream a lot, but I don't actually watch too many streams, so I can kind of understand the difference there. Well, anyway, thank you all so much. I'd love to hear what you are planning on playing in the future, what you're playing now. If you think a gaming journal might help you, let me know in the comment section down below. All right, I'll see you guys online, and of course, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Always got that. Got the reload. Oh yeah. Wait, hold up.